It's gonna be him, isn't it?
You ain't so tough with that bad boy tuck. I'ma get it how I'm living, I'ma walk the walk. Outline my lines, I rap through thought.
Yes, people, what's happening? Welcome back to Football Therapy with me, your host, Jan. What's happening? You well? I hope you're doing well. Really do hope that. Welcome back to the channel. Welcome back to Chelsea News. Of course, lots of stuff popping off at the moment regarding transfers. Chelsea won a striker. Chelsea won a striker, ladies and gentlemen. Make no bones about it. Romelu Lukaku will be out of the door, and it's beyond expected that Armando Broja would be sold as well. Partially because they probably feel like they want a different striker, but massively because they will value the pure profit that he would generate as a sale. Of course, as an academy graduate. Which leaves as a conventional striker, and that's a stretch. Because as much as we rate Nico Jackson here on the channel, I think he's got like a capacity to be an excellent and, helpful forward. He's a recently converted centre forward. He's been playing striker for not that long, like a year. And that for your only recognised inverted commas centre forward in an upcoming campaign where you have European football, it is not ideal. Of course, Chelsea have the likes of David Washington on the books and stuff. He won't be utilised. I don't think David Datro Fofana we looked at. Chelsea want a striker, and of course, they want John Duran. So we are going to speak about that today. Just a quick bit of housework. Thanks for joining me as always, guys. Thank you for supporting the content. Super simple. Drop a like on the video. It helps me out in the dark abyss. That is the YouTube algorithm. Remember when I used to say that to the OGs? So thank you for liking the video. And if you do want to subscribe, ensure you hit the bell if you do. Right, I've got some stats to show you in a moment of John Duran. He is a good young player. He's younger than Jackson. He's only 20, John Duran, the Colombian striker. I'm going to cite an article from The Guardian, and also I read the one from Matt Law on The Telegraph. I'll speak a little bit about that as well. Aston Villa, I expect... The opening line, bro. I just don't want to read this opening line. But I have to read it. Aston Villa are expected to demand... 40 million pounds for John Duran if Chelsea formalise their interest in the Colombia striker. I mean, we already have formalised their interest. We've spoken about Chelsea tried to sign him in January. Villa are open to selling the 20-year-old, and there have been talks over him being included of part of the Conor Gallagher deal. Yes. We all know how we feel about that. Chelsea are asking for at least £50 million for Gallagher, which is a lot of money for Gallagher with 12 months left on his deal, it is. Whose contract expires next year, and the midfielder's future remains up in the air. Unai Emery is keen on the England international. I said this multiple times recently. He would do so well at Aston Villa, Conor Gallagher, because of the style of football they play under Emery. They're keen on him. He's also a target of Tottenham, of course. Villa have held informal talks with Chelsea over a move for the 24-year-old, but sources close to Villa believe Gallagher is unlikely to agree to being part of a swap deal. Which maybe, I don't think he'd care about a swap deal, but I think he means he wants to choose his destiny, maybe? I don't know. That would not stop Chelsea, who have a good relationship with Villa, trying to pursue Duran. So it's not dependent on the Gallagher swap deal. Like, if Gallagher doesn't go anywhere, Chelsea will feel there's an opportunity there. I'm trying to think, our relationship with Aston Villa. Who are we? I mean, Tammy Abraham, loaned to them, obviously to great success. Who else have we had talks over Villa? I can't think off the top of my head. Comment down below if you can think of any other players recently. So Chelsea want competition, of course, for Nicholas Jackson, who was often the only fit striker this past season. Their offers are top targets, were people like Benjamin Sesko, who's now going to stay at RB Leipzig. Sesko's decision will not cause too much disruption at Chelsea, who have shortlisted several strikers. They are open to signing a forward already playing in the Premier League and have had informal discussions over Duran. Of course, he's playing second fiddle to Ollie Watkins. Duran is not in Emery's long-term plans. This is interesting, and has started only 3 league games since joining Villa in January 2023. He has 8 goals in all competitions for the club and is regarded as having plenty of potential. Chelsea are also looking at other strikers, and they're competing with United for Michael Olise. Just to elaborate a little bit on this, John Duran, if he's not happy for playing second fiddle to Ollie Watkins, granted Ollie Watkins elite, he is the second highest scoring striker behind Erling Haaland. Didn't score as many as a certain kid called Cole Palmer though, but he's a great centre forward, Ollie Watkins, and you can see why he's the type of forward that the high octane, quite chaotic style of football, Unai Emery plays. He suits him because he's this sort of madman, high-pressing centre-forward. He probably would have done quite well for Mauricio Pochettino, Ollie Watkins, but, Gallagher did well for Pochettino, hence why Unai Emery wants Gallagher for his style of football as well. I think in many ways they're similar. Maybe a little bit more of a diligent and often insane high line from Unai Emery's Aston Villa. So, yeah, man, look, if he's not happy playing second fiddle to Champions League Aston Villa, is he happy playing second fiddle to Conference League Chelsea? I mean, of course, the prestige of playing for Chelsea hits different. Matt Law also referenced some stuff that his agent had said, essentially saying, and this was a while back now, but explaining how it was when it was being speculated that Pochettino might go. He's like, look, Pochettino coming or going, it won't affect the fact that Chelsea are interested in my client, John Duran. So he's 20 years old, he's a Colombia international, he is highly regarded in terms of potential. I'm going to pull up some stats now that I've prepared from X Value. Let's have a look firstly. So as you can see here, and let me show you the other one first, we'll bring that up in a second. So yes, John Duran, he is Colombian international, he's 20 years old, he's 185 centimetres, he's a left footer, which suits the Chelsea vibe. Apparently we only like left footers now. As you can see here on the heat map, he's really all over the gaff really. He's doesn't just camp out on in the 18-yard box, which I guess is good, especially if you're playing Enzo Maresca football when there'll be a lot of movement trying to pull players out of spaces. Now, performance spider chart is really telling here because it's really high for shooting and it's really high for aerials. And of course, we were looking at Benjamin Sesko. Yes, we've spoken about, is now staying at Leipzig. He's, of course, is great in the air as well. So Chelsea clearly looking for a striker who can head a ball. And boy, howdy, can John Duran head a football. As you can see there, he's not defensively diligent, he's not much of a creative, and he's not amazing at passes, which is something he would have to develop his game on. If you look at the top left part of this graphic here, he's an all-round finisher. That's what he's referenced as, or has been aggregated in terms of his player-striker profile. Let's bring this up again. This is interesting. Of course, he's played a lot off the bench. If you look at the shooting on the left-hand side, this is per 90 minutes. Expected goals, over half expected goal per 90, which is good. It's in actually it's in the 96th percentile, and of course they are all non-penalty as well if you look at the second metric there. So he's essentially in the top 4% for expected goals across all the elite strikers. And as a 20-year-old who hasn't had that much time on the pitch, that's pretty strong, actually, you'd have to say. Look, man, he's a good striker. I know he's a good striker. I saw him score that brace in that game recently. I totally forgot who it was. But he is clearly like a good striker. And I wouldn't be... On the face of it, I wouldn't be massively annoyed if we signed John Duran. But they want £40 million for him. That's a no-no. Like... I get it, we want a talented young player. He's a talented young player. But 40 million quid, dude. Like, we got Nico Jackson, who had a good season, and we are, like, hoping he gets better for 32 million? Hold on, I'm going to sneeze. One sec, I'm going to pause the recording. Better. Yeah, man, so... 40 million, dude. £40 million. That is. I don't know if that report's correct. Maybe it's a sort of like a ploy because they're thinking, well, look, if you're going to gas up Gallagher and charge too much, we're going to charge too much for our player, who granted is not worth as much as Gallagher. Just. How do we feel about John Duran? A good finisher who's good in the air, who's young, and you're not buying like Giroud. Do you know what I mean? Like a guy who's very much in the autumn years of his career, who we didn't know would go on to the deep winter of his career, of course, still playing now in MLS after having a great stint in Italy. Yeah, but you knew what you were getting with Giroud. Like, you never had any pace to lose. He was going to be good in the air, and he was going to be good at finishing. Now, I'm not saying John Duran, profile-wise, is Olivier Giroud, but clearly they like the look of him, and clearly they feel they can get something out of him. It always makes me think, when a team, a good team, doesn't want a player for one reason or another, and they're not in their plans, it doesn't make you think, well, let's give them £40 million for him. Do you know what I mean? Like, and I know that might be a little bit silly of me because, of course, there's so much nuance to these situations. It's a style of play. It's a personality thing. There's so much stuff to consider. So it's very, very tough to sort of like judge on that. But look, man, what are the options? Let's go a bit informal and just talk about the options here. Okay, so Osimhen's off the table because he's going to cost too much money and the wages are going to be like exceptionally large. Fine, so Osimhen's gone. We are going to just talk as if like Lukaku and Bruyere are leaving. Osimhen's off the table. Chelsea are not looking at Victor Gyökeres of Sporting. I wonder if he'll stay another season because the manager's probably staying. And then Seško staying at Leipzig. These high-profile strikers, there's not many. Now, I suppose we should talk about it again because Matt Law did include it in his article. There is a release clause for Dom Solanke. Now, I still think of Dom Solanke as a young player, but he's 27, isn't he? Like, so he's just got that sort of boyish look to him. He's a big striker. He's a good Premier League operator and deserves respect, you know. So yeah, he's 20. He turns 27. He'll be 27 at the beginning of the season. I mean, we should talk about Dom Solanke. He's a good player. He's in his prime, bro. Like, he's in his prime. He'll be one of those probably Tosin signings where you give him a 4-year contract rather than a 7-year contract. And if you sign Dom Solanke, you are starting Dom Solanke because he's of his age. Unless I suppose Nico becomes excellent and I back Nico to get better and then whatever. 65 million quid. Like, in terms of the thing is, right, if you said to me, pick a striker to join Chelsea, just don't think of money, John Duran or Dom Solanke, I'd go Dom Solanke. He's a great finisher. He's scoring loads of goals in the Prem. He's big, he's strong, he's fast, he's confident, he doesn't get bullied, and he's a bit older, so, Nico can be the 22-year-old, he can be the 27-year-old, or 23, 27. Do you know what I mean? It seems like right, rather than bringing in another 20-year-old. But you speak about the money, and to be honest, I'm just as sort of reluctant to spend £65 million on Solanke than I am £40 million on John Duran. Come on! Suddenly it makes these like £55 million quotes for Seško look like an absolute bargain. I do wonder though, because let's be real here. We are dealing with Bournemouth, right? And Bournemouth don't sell players for 65 million quid. Like, what would happen? What would happen if you waived 45 million quid under Bournemouth's nose? Would they go, okay, off he goes, and then maybe accept 50, and then it's 65 to 50 or something. He's contracted till 2027, so they're in a strong negotiating position in that sense. He extended last summer, essentially, before they got into the Premier League, before they had their Premier League. No, they're in the Premier League, what am I talking about? But, yeah, essentially, I'm looking at his timeline here. So he actually did go to Vitesse. I didn't think he went on the loan to Vitesse because I spoke with a story recently about how he didn't want to do maybe the championship loans like Tammy did, multiple championship loans. But he went to Vitesse, and of course he wanted to leave Chelsea. He left Chelsea when he was 19. Holy sausages! Try not to swear. That was 2017, so that was 7 years ago. Yeah, it makes sense. He went to Liverpool. Of course, he didn't get the game time in Liverpool. His value did increase though, even just by being there, by quite a lot. I'm looking at transfer markets now, even for not playing. He goes to Bournemouth for, I think, 18. No, he goes to Bournemouth for 10 million euros. So whatever that is. Oh no, it says 21 million. I don't understand transfer marks. Anyway, yeah, it looks like 20 million. 20 million, he goes, so that's a lot. That's a massive investment for Bournemouth. Bournemouth's, I don't know if that's a record transfer, but they've signed a striker from Liverpool and they spent 20 million for him. And yes, it takes him a while to get going at Bournemouth, but he pops off. He does. In fact, let's look at, while we're speaking about Solanke, let's just quick look at his previous seasons, because obviously he did well in the Championship as well. History. So, of course, the season just gone, he scored 19 Premier League goals, which is excellent, and 3 assists, considering he's playing for Bournemouth. He was on penalties, though, worth mentioning. In the previous Premier League campaign, he scored 6 goals, Premier League goals, which isn't great. 6 goals, 7 assists, so that's in the full Premier League campaign. Really poor return. But that was his first league season back in the Premier League. The previous season, in the Championship, he tore it up. He scored 29 goals and got 7 assists. So 36 goal involvements in a 46-game campaign for him. He got 15 goals the season before. So he really popped off 2 years ago. Gone to the Prem, didn't really settle. Last season did really, really well with Iraola. So it shows you if he's got the right coach, he can do well. But ultimately, he's got 2 years left on the deal. He's in his prime. I mean, I feel sorry for Dom Solanke because in another situation, he would be playing for England, right? Again, I said the same thing about, Watkins and Toney, the amount of international countries that would kill to have those strikers as their first choice, let alone their second and third. And of course, we've got Harry Kane. But, Dom Solanke, if you're a team of the Euros and Dom Solanke's your striker, you're okay. Do you know what I mean? And he's not even getting a sniff for the Euros team because they're just so many good strikers. But you'd have to also consider this. If he's an ambitious young man, obviously it didn't work out at Liverpool, but if a big team comes in for him, like a top third of Premier League team, as in top third of the table, like top 8, he will back himself to do better than maybe Toney. I don't know what's going on with Toney. No one's talking about Toney as well, by the way. He is not being linked. He was mooted to just go. It's just he's not, as far as people are concerned, he's not supposed to be at Brentford next season. And no one's talking about him, by the way, so that's really interesting. But Dom Solanke, I don't hate it, to be honest. I don't hate it. But I don't love it. Alright, well, we've done a little trip down memory lane there. Hopefully you guys found that interesting enough and I wasn't rambling, but sometimes I like to get a bit more casual with the content like that. It's a bit of a mix and match here. I can't always do the exact same thing. So let me know what you think, man. Please do comment down below. John Duran, Dom Solanke. Now Seshko's off the table. I know we all like the idea of Julian Alvarez. There is still talk that he could go, but whether clubs are prepared to pay the money that would take to pry him away is another story. So leave your thoughts in the comments and love to see you back here soon. Peace.